Good morning. Welcome to the reading comprehension session of 𝐂𝐨𝐬𝐲 Academy. I am Twinkle and I will be teaching you how to do the reading. Okay, so this is a weekend and it is a lazy time. I know that all of you are waiting for the weekend and I hope you have a good one. But today let's go on and see how to do the reading passage. Okay, so the first things that we have to understand about reading is that it happens for 60 minutes and you've got to attempt 40 questions. So time management is essential here. Right. So today's reading session. The first thing that we have to check when we get a reading test is the title, so that we understand what we are looking for. Then there are two ways in which you can do the reading. If you are good at understanding English, then you can just go on and read the entire passage once, or else you can just go on straight to the questions. I prefer the second one. All right, let's do this. So today I have taken a passage, why being bored is stimulating and useful too. The material will be shown on the screen now so that you understand what I am talking about. So let's see this passage. Why being bored is stimulating and useful too. This most common of emotions is turning out to be more interesting than we thought. So being bored, the passage is all about being bored. Let's go to the questions now. Right. The important thing is to read the instructions carefully and you have to go according to that, otherwise you will lose marks. So this is the reading passage 2 of the entire test, and here we have this list of headings. That is the type of question that I have taken today. And here you have the instructions. Reading passage 2 has 6 paragraphs A to F. Choose a correct heading for each paragraph from the list. So you have paragraphs A to F. That means you have 6 paragraphs, but you've got 8 headings given to you. That means 2 are not to be used. And you have to write the correct number of the statements given or the headings given here. Write the correct number 1 to 8 in boxes 14 to 19 on your answer sheet. So what do we do first in this case of in the case of list of headings? What we have to do is read the entire list once, just underline or highlight the important points in this and then go on to read the first paragraph. Right, let's read the list of headings. First one, the productive outcomes that may result from boredom. Something that is productive, which means it's a positive outcome, or creative outcome that may result from boredom. Which paragraph is talking about that? Next one, what teachers can do to prevent boredom? Pretty straightforward. Third one, a new explanation and a new cure for boredom. New explanation and new cure. Which paragraph is talking about that? Next one, problems with a scientific approach to boredom. A potential danger. The next one, fifth one, a potential danger arising from boredom. Sixth one, creating a system of classification for feelings of boredom. 7, age groups most affected by boredom. And 8, identifying those people most affected by boredom. Right, let's go ahead and read the first paragraph. We all know how it feels. It's impossible to keep your mind on anything. Time stretches out and all the things you could do seem equally unlikely to make you feel better. This is about boredom. But defining boredom so that it can be studied in the lab has proved difficult. For a start, it can include a lot of other mental states such as frustration, apathy, depression, and indifference. There isn't even agreement over whether boredom is always a low energy, flat kind of emotion or whether feeling agitated and restless counts as boredom. So here they are talking about studying boredom in a lab and what would be the issues you have your answer here. You have to go back to the list and check which suits this paragraph the most. And here, studying in a lab, that gives you an idea that it is about the scientific approach. So your first answer or the 14th answer for paragraph A is number 4. Problems with a scientific approach to boredom. Let's go ahead and read the next paragraph. By asking people about their experiences of boredom, Thomas Goetz and his team at the University of Constance in Germany have recently identified 5 distinct types: indifferent, calibrating, searching, reactant, and apathetic. So, this paragraph starts with this line where they have identified 5 different types of boredom. You have classification. So, your answer is 6, creating a system of classification for feelings of boredom. So this is all, these feelings are all related to boredom. There are 5 different types, and that is what this paragraph is talking about. So since we are looking at the paragraph headings, when we get it, we just move on to the next. There's no need for us to read the entire passage once. Paragraph. Right. Paragraph C. Psychologist Andy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire, UK goes further. All emotions are there for a reason, including boredom, she says. Man has found that being bored makes us more creative. We are all afraid of being bored, but in actual fact, it can lead to all kinds of amazing things, she says. Here, in experiments published last year, Mann found that people who had been made to feel bored by copying numbers out of the phone book for 15 minutes came up with more creative ideas about how to use a polystyrene cup than a control group. Mann concluded that a passive, boring activity is best for creativity. So remember, I talked about creativity here. So the first one is your answer for paragraph C. The productive outcomes that may result from boredom. Productive means creative. So 1 is your answer. Next one, paragraph D. Psychologist John Eastwood at York in Toronto, Canada isn't convinced. So here again, he's going to talk about something negative. If you are in a state of mind wandering, you are not bored, he says. In my view, by definition, boredom is an undesirable state. So it's something negative. Let's move on to read the entire paragraph. That doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't adaptive, he adds. Pain is adaptive. If we didn't have physical pain, bad things would happen to us. Does that mean that we should actively cause pain? No. But even if boredom has evolved to help us survive, it can still be toxic if allowed to fester. For Eastwood, the central feature of boredom is a failure to put our attention system into gear. This causes an inability to focus on anything, which makes time seem to go painfully slow. What's more, your efforts to improve the situation can end up making you feel worse. People try to connect with the world, and if they are not successful, there's a frustration and irritability, he says. Perhaps most worryingly, says Eastwood, repeatedly failing to engage attention can lead to a state where we don't know what to do anymore and no longer care. So it's about, this paragraph is all about the negative effects of boredom. Let's see which one heading suits this paragraph the best. Productive outcomes, we already did. What teachers can do, nothing is mentioned about that. New explanation, new cure, no. Problems with the scientific approach, we already took. A potential danger arising from boredom. That is your answer. That is what the paragraph is talking about. So 5 is your answer. Let's move on to the next one. Paragraph E. Eastwood's team is now trying to explore why the attention system fails. It's early days, but they think that at least some of it comes down to personality. Boredom proneness has been linked with a variety of traits. People who are motivated by pleasure seem to suffer particularly badly. So we have those people who are prone to pleasure suffer from boredom particularly badly. That means they are identifying those most affected by boredom. Therefore, your answer for paragraph E is 8. Moving on, psychologist Francois Wemmelsfelder speculates that our over-connected lifestyles might even be a new source of boredom. In modern human society, there is a lot of overstimulation, but still a lot of problems finding meaning, she says. So instead of seeking yet more mental stimulation, perhaps we should leave our phones alone and use boredom to motivate us to engage with the world in a more meaningful way. So that is the last paragraph, and here she is giving a new explanation. This scientist is giving a new explanation and a new cure. So it is something unimaginable for us to leave our phones somewhere and then go away. But that is what the cure for boredom is what the psychologist is saying. So your answer for paragraph F is 3. So I hope you got that. Let's move on to the next set of questions. So before moving on, I would like to tell you how to go about this kind of this type of questions. So you will be given one list of headings and you will be given the paragraph letters, and first thing that you have to do is check the paragraph letters and see if all the paragraphs need to be identified and given a heading. Here A, B, C, D, E, F, all the paragraphs need to be checked and given the heading. Then read the list of headings. Read the entire list. You will have one or two additional statements there or headings there, which has to be eliminated. Now understand what the heading is about, underline the important points, and then go on about reading the first paragraph. Check the list whether which one suits the paragraph best, and then go on and write the number of that heading. Do not write the entire heading, just write the number. That would be your answer. So we move on to the next set of questions. Questions 20 to 23. Look at the following people and the list of ideas below. So this is something which we have not done till now in our live sessions. We have a list of ideas. Match each person with the correct idea A to E. So here also we have 4 questions, that is 4 people's names given, and the list of ideas you have 5. That means 1 need not be used. Right. The names of the people: Peter 𝐂𝐲𝐻, Thomas 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐠. So here you can see that I am pronouncing this as 𝐂𝐨𝐧, that is how it is pronounced. John Eastwood, and last name is Francois. Here again most people would read this as Francois, that is wrong, it's Francois Wemmelsfelder. Let's check the list of ideas. The way we live today may encourage boredom. Who said that, or whose idea is it? One sort of boredom is worse than all the others. So they are comparing different types of boredom and saying that one type is the worst. Next one, levels of boredom may fall in future. Something will happen, it will decrease in the future. That is what the C statement is saying. D, trying to cope with boredom can increase its negative effects. Who said that, or whose idea is that? And the last one, boredom may encourage us to avoid an unpleasant experience. Now we have the names of the people here. For this type of question, if you ever encounter this, then what you have to do is go ahead and check their names in the passage and see what is written along with that, whatever they have said. We have to check the meanings of that and then come back and compare with the list. That's what we have to do. So we have 4 names: Peter 𝐂𝐲𝐻, Thomas 𝐂𝐂𝐧𝑠, John Eastwood, and Francois Wemmelsfelder. Let's go back to the passage. Right. Here in the first passage, when we read, I'm not going to read the entire passage because it's time consuming. Let's just look for the name, and you have the name Peter 𝐂𝐲𝐻 here. So in his book, let's read just that part. In his book Boredom, A Lively History, Peter 𝐂𝐲𝐻 at the University of Calgary, Canada, compares it to disgust, an emotion that motivates us to stay away from certain situations. If disgust protects humans from infection, boredom may protect them from infectious social situations, he suggests. So let's go and check if there is something related to this given in the list of ideas. The way we live today may encourage boredom. That is not it. One sort of boredom is worse. No. Levels of boredom may fall in the future. No. Trying to cope with boredom can increase its negative effects. No. What is given here? Boredom may encourage us to avoid an unpleasant experience. That is what Peter 𝐂𝐲𝐻 is saying. So your 20th answer, Peter 𝐂𝐲𝐻, to that you have to write E, the letter E. What is he saying? He is saying that boredom is an emotion which will help us from infectious social situations, or which may protect us from infectious social situations. So that is what is meant by avoid unpleasant experience. Right. The next name, Thomas 𝐂𝐲𝐻. Thomas 𝐂𝐲𝐻. We see here Thomas 𝐂𝐲𝐻. And what is given here? We know that in this paragraph they are talking about the 5 distinct types or 5 different types of boredom, and we have already read the first line, so let's go ahead and read the second line. These can be plotted on 2 axes, one running left to right, which measures low to high arousal, and the other is from top to bottom, which measures how positive or negative the feeling is. Intriguingly, 𝐂𝐲𝐻 has found that while people experience all kinds of boredom, they tend to specialize in one of the 5 types. There are 5 types of boredom: indifferent, calibrating, searching, reactant, and apathetic. Of the 5 types, the most damaging is reactant boredom, with its explosive combination of high arousal and negative emotion. So we have that idea given here. One sort of boredom is worse than all the others. Therefore, your 21st answer is B. Next one, John Eastwood. We have the name John Eastwood. Let's see where it comes. So here in C paragraph, no, it's Sandyman. Then in D paragraph, you have psychologist John Eastwood. And what does he say? He says, in my view, by definition, boredom is an undesirable state. That doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't adaptive, he adds. Pain is adaptive. If we didn't have physical pain, bad things would happen to us. Does that mean that we should actively cause pain? No. But if boredom has evolved to help us survive, it can still be toxic if allowed to fester. Fester means to linger, to go on for a long time. And he's saying that if boredom is allowed to linger for a long time, that it can be toxic. So here you have this idea D, trying to cope with boredom. What happens when boredom lingers? That we try to cope with it, and that can increase its negative effects. That's what John Eastwood is saying. So your 22nd answer is D. And the last one, Francois Memmelsfelder. And we read about her in paragraph F. Psychologist Francois Memmelsfelder speculates that our over-connected lifestyles might be even a new source of boredom. We have the answer straight away. The way we live today may encourage boredom. We are all connected with our mobile phones or our smartphones, our laptops, to somebody or the other. We are always connected to the world, and that overstimulation may cause us to feel bored. That is what Francois Memmelsfelder is telling. So 23rd answer is A. Okay, so that was quite easy, I guess. Next we move on to summary completion. And you have to choose one word only from the passage. This is very, very important for you to note down this. You can use only one word. If you use more than one word, that is use an article along with the answer like a or an or the, then it will definitely be marked as a wrong answer since you didn't follow the instruction. So here make sure that you're writing only one word. And we have only 3 questions here, 24 to 26, 24, 25 and 26. Responses to boredom. For John Eastwood, the central feature of boredom is that people cannot dash due to a failure in what he calls the attention system, and as a result they become frustrated and irritable. So we know that we read about John Eastwood in paragraph D, and already we have read half of that paragraph. Now let's move on. For Eastwood, the central feature of boredom is a failure to put our attention system into gear. So you have already read that here, due to a failure in what he calls the attention system. Now what is the central feature of boredom? Let's see. Is a failure to put our attention system into gear. This causes an inability to focus on anything. So let's go back. The central feature of boredom is that people cannot focus due to a failure in what he calls the attention system, and as a result they become frustrated and irritable. His team suggests that those for whom dash is an important aim in life may have problems in coping with boredom, whereas those who have the characteristic of dash can generally cope with it. So for those whom something is an important aim in life, let's go back to read that. People try to connect with the world, and if they are not successful, there's frustration and irritability, he says. Perhaps most worryingly, says Eastwood, repeatedly failing to engage attention can lead to a state where we don't know what to do anymore and no longer care. Next one. Eastwood's team is now trying to explore why the attention system fails. It's early days, but they think that at least some of it comes down to personality. Boredom proneness has been linked with a variety of traits. People who are motivated by pleasure seem to suffer particularly badly. This is what we have here. For those whom something is an important aim in life, for whom pleasure is an important aim in life, they suffer particularly badly. Other personality traits such as curiosity are associated with a high boredom threshold. So those who have the characteristic of dash can generally cope with it. Characteristic of curiosity. So the 3 answers, 24 is focus, 25 is pleasure and 26 is curiosity. Right. That's the end of passage 2. Now we move on to reading passage 3, where we have questions 27 to 40. So this is supposed to be a difficult passage. Let's see. Let me go on to the questions. So here, the first set of questions, 27 to 31, choose the correct letter A, B, C or D. So this is a multiple choice question, and many people think that it is difficult. Actually, it is not if you focus on what is asked in the question. You have to read the question carefully, read the options given, then read the passage or read the paragraph or part where the answer is supposed to be. When you read that, focus on what is being written and you can eliminate the answers. Eliminate the wrong answers and arrive at the right answer. So multiple choice. What is the writer suggesting about computer produced works in the first paragraph? So we just have to read the first paragraph. Now read the options here. Option A, people's acceptance of them can vary considerably. Option B, a great deal of progress has already been attained in this field. Option C, they have had more success in some artistic genres than in others. D, the advances are not as significant as the public believes them to be. So understand what is given, then we just go on to the first paragraph. The painting Fool is one of a growing number of computer programs which, so their makers claim, possess creative talents. Classical music by an artificial composer has had audiences enraptured and even tricked them into believing a human was behind the score. Artworks painted by a robot have sold for thousands of dollars and been hung in prestigious galleries. And software has been built which creates art that could not have been imagined by the programmer. So, what is the writer suggesting here? Is he talking about people's acceptance? No, absolutely not, because nothing is mentioned about people's acceptance there. How people accept computer produced programs, that is not given. Is he talking about a great deal of progress? Yes, because he is giving examples of what all is being done in artificial artists by artificial artists. First one, he's talking about painting fool. Then he's talking about classical music by artificial composers, and also talking about artworks by Roberts. So he's talking about the deal of progress, a great deal of progress that has already been attained in this field. So your 27th answer is B. 28. According to 𝐂𝐨𝐻𝐿, why are many people worried by computer art? What is worrying the people according to this person? Option A. It is aesthetically inferior to human art. B. It may ultimately supersede human art. It will overtake human art. C. It undermines a fundamental human quality. Or D. It will lead to a deterioration in human ability. So, according to 𝐂𝐨𝐻𝐿, we go and read the second paragraph where we see the name 𝐂𝐨𝐻𝐿. Human beings are the only species to perform sophisticated creative acts regularly. If we can break this process down into computer code, where does that leave human creativity? This is a question at the very core of humanity, says 𝐂𝐨𝐻𝐿, a computational creativity researcher at Goldsmiths, University of London. It scares a lot of people. They are worried that it is taking something special away from what it means to be human. So, is talking about art, artificially created art being aesthetically inferior to human art? No. It may ultimately supersede? No. What they are talking about, what he is talking about, or what he is telling us is that people are worried that it undermines a fundamental human quality. Something which only humans can do is to create sophisticated acts, and this is what is worrying when computers take over creating art. This is what is worrying people, that this ability is being taken away. So, it undermines a fundamental human quality. 28th answer is C. Next one. What is a key difference between Aaron and the painting fool? Let's read the options. A. Its programmer's background. B. Public response to its work. C. The source of its subject matter. Or D. The technical standard of its output. So, what is the key difference between Aaron and the painting fool? These two are computers or robots or softwares which create art. Let's see. To some extent, we are all familiar with computerized art. The question is, where does the work of the artist stop and the creativity of the computer begin? Consider one of the oldest machine artists, Aaron, a robot that has had paintings exhibited in London State Modern and the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. Aaron can pick up a paintbrush and paint on canvas on its own. Impressive perhaps, but it is still little more than a tool to realize the programmer's own creative ideas. Okay, we don't know anything about painting fool from there. Next one. Simon Colton, the designer of the painting fool, is keen to make sure his creation doesn't attract the same criticism. Unlike earlier artists such as Aaron, the painting fool only needs minimal direction and can come up with its own concepts by going online for material. I hope you understood the difference here. Aaron is a robot which can just pick up a brush and can paint something, but that painting is the imagination of or the creative ideas of the programmer. Whereas in painting fool, it goes on to search online for material for source material. So that is the difference. So what's the key difference? It's programmer's background. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the source of its subject matter. Is the programmer's background the difference? No. Public response to its work? No. The source of its subject matter is what the difference is. So in the case of Aaron, it uses its master's or the programmer's creative ideas, whereas in the case of Painting Fool, it goes online to search for materials for inspiration. C is your answer. 30. What point does Simon Colton make in the fourth paragraph? Let's see the options. Option A is software produced art is often dismissed as childish and simplistic. The same concepts of creativity should not be applied to all forms of art. It is unreasonable to expect a machine to be as imaginative as a human being. Next one. People tend to judge computer art and human art according to different criteria. So what is your 30th answer? We just have to go and read the fourth paragraph. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Simon Colton, the designer of the Painting Fool, is keen to make sure his creation doesn't attract the same criticism. Unlike earlier artists such as Aaron, the Painting Fool only needs minimal direction and can come up with its own concepts by going online for material. The software runs its own web searches and trawls through social media sites. It is now beginning to display a kind of imagination to creating pictures from scratch. One of its original works is a series of fussy landscapes depicting trees and sky. While some might say that they have a mechanical look, Colton argues that such reactions arise from people's double standards towards software-produced and human-produced art. After all, he says, consider that the Painting Fool painted the landscapes without referring to a photo. If a child painted a new scene from its head, you'd say it has a certain level of imagination, he points out. The same should be true of a machine. So here he is arguing that the reactions of people arise from their double standards towards software produced and human produced art. So what point is he making? Software produced art is often dismissed as childish and simplistic? No. The same concepts of creativity should not be applied? No, he's saying it should be applied. It is unreasonable to expect a machine to be as imaginative as a human being? Absolutely not. And the fourth one, people tend to judge computer art and human art according to different criteria. So that is your answer. 30th answer is D. Right. Next one. The writer refers to the paintings of a chair as an example of computer art which does what? The options are achieves a particularly striking effect, exhibits a certain level of genuine artistic skill, closely resembles that of a well-known artist, or highlights the technical limitations of the software. What does it do? So he's giving the example of a chair to strike the point. What? Software bugs can also lead to unexpected results. Some of the Painting Fool's paintings of a chair came out in black and white thanks to a technical glitch. So this is what we are talking about. This gives the work an eerie, ghost-like quality. Right. So it achieves a particularly striking effect. The paintings of a chair has a ghost-like quality. That is what is mentioned there. Let's move on to the next set of questions. So here also we have list of ideas. Complete each sentence with the correct ending. Here the names of people are not given. We have to complete the sentences. Half of the sentence is given as question, half is given as answer. So write the correct letter A to G in boxes 32 to 37 on your answer sheet. And we have to read everything 32 up to 37 and then the list of ideas A to G. It is impossible to memorize the entire thing. So just underline the important points and then do not assume anything which the answer is. You have to go back, read from the passage and then find the answer. Alright. So let's read the entire thing now. 32. Simon Colton says that it is important to consider the long-term view when dash. So what is he saying? Consider the long-term view when we have to do something. Okay. 33. David Cope's EMI software surprised people by doing what? 34. Geraint Wiggins criticized Cope for not doing something. What is that? 35. Douglas Hofstadter claimed that EMI was something. Okay. 36. Audiences who had listened to EMI's music became angry after what? 37. The participants in David Moffat's study had to assess music without something. Okay, so those were the questions. Now let's see the list of ideas or the rest of the sentences that we are supposed to complete. Option A. Generating work that was virtually indistinguishable from that of humans. B. Knowing whether it was the work of humans or software. C. Producing work entirely dependent on the imagination of its creator. D. Comparing the artistic achievements of humans and computers. E. Revealing the technical details of his program. F. Persuading the public to appreciate computer art. And G. Discovering that it was the product of a computer program. Alright, now we have to go back, read the first question again, 32 again, and then let's see what the rest of the answer is or the rest of the sentences. Simon Colton says it is important to consider a long-term view when doing what? Alright, let's go back and check. Right. Researchers like Colton don't believe it is right to measure machine creativity directly to that of humans who have had millennia to develop our skills. Others, though, are fascinated by the prospect that a computer might create something as original and subtle as our best artists. So far, only one has come close. Okay, so what does Colton believe? Here, it is important to consider the long-term view when doing what? When generating work that was virtually indistinguishable? No. Knowing whether it was a work, no, that is not the answer. Producing work entirely dependent on the imagination? No. Comparing the artistic achievements of humans and computers. So here he is comparing humans and computers when it comes to creating art. And that is what he says. People have had millennia to develop our skills, whereas computers are products of human creativity, and they may not create original works of art right now. So D is your answer. 32. Simon Colton says it is important to consider the long-term view when comparing the artistic achievements of humans and computers. 33. David Cope's EMI software surprised people by doing what? Let's see. Composer David Cope invented a program called Experiments in Musical Intelligence, or EMI. Not only did EMI create compositions in Cope's style, but also that of the most revered classical composers including Bach, Chopin and Mozart. Audiences were moved to tears, and EMI even fooled classical music experts into thinking they were hearing genuine Bach. Let's see. They surprised people by doing what? Generating work that was indistinguishable. Let's see. EMI fooled classical music experts into thinking that they were hearing genuine Bach. So how did it surprise people? By generating work that was virtually indistinguishable from that of humans. Indistinguishable, people who heard it cannot distinguish whether it was the work of a computer or the work of a human. So 33 answer is A. Next one. Geraint Wiggins criticized Cope for not doing something. For not doing what? However, not everyone was impressed, however. Some, such as Wiggins, so we have the name Wiggins here, have blasted 𝐂𝐲𝐻𝐒's work as pseudoscience and condemned him for his deliberately vague explanation of how the software worked. So he criticized 𝐂𝐲 for not doing something. What is that? For revealing the technical details of his program. E is your answer. How did we arrive at that? He condemned Wiggins condemned 𝐂𝐲 for his deliberately vague explanation. So there is some technical detail which was withheld by 𝐂𝐲. Deliberately vague explanation of how the software worked. Therefore, Geraint Wiggins criticized 𝐂𝐲 for not revealing the technical details of his program. E is your answer. Next one. Douglas Hofstadter claimed that EMI was what? Go back to the passage. Meanwhile, Douglas Hofstadter of Indiana University said EMI created replicas which still rely completely on the original artist's creative impulses. That is what he said. That means C. Douglas Hofstadter claimed that EMI was producing work entirely dependent on the imagination of its creator. Let's read that line once again to understand it. EMI created replicas which still rely completely on the original artist's creative impulses. Therefore, this 35th one, when we read it together, it becomes Douglas Hofstadter claimed that EMI was producing work entirely dependent on the imagination of its creator. Next, audiences who had listened to EMI's music became angry after doing what? When audiences found out the truth, they were often outraged with 𝐂𝐲, and one music lover even tried to punch him. So what did they find out? They discovered that it was a product of a computer program and not an original score. Audiences who had listened to EMI's music became angry after discovering that it was the product of a computer program. G is your answer. And the last one. The participants in David Moffat's study had to assess music without something. Let's go back. David Moffat, we find that name in the next paragraph. But why did so many people love the music yet recoil when they discovered how it was composed? A study by computer scientist David Moffat of Glasgow Caledonian University provides a clue. He asked both expert musicians and non-experts to assess 6 compositions. The participants weren't told beforehand whether the tunes were composed by humans or computers. So they didn't know whether it was the music of humans or computers. The participants in David Moffat's study had to assess music without knowing whether it was the work of humans or software. 37 answer is B. Right, and we move on to the last 3 questions. Yes, no, not given. Do the following statements agree with the claims of the writer in reading passage 3? So you have to understand the basic difference between true, false, not given and yes, no, not given. If you interchange the answers, instead of yes, if you write true, you will lose that mark, and if you write false instead of no, you will lose that mark. So you have to be very careful and make sure whether it is yes, no, not given or true, false, not given. And the fundamental difference is that true, false, not given is asking whether that statement is true according to the passage. And in yes, no, not given, they are asking whether the statements given agree with the claims of the writer. That is the only difference. Right. You have to write yes if the statement agrees with the claims of the writer, no if the statement contradicts the claims of the writer, and not given if it is impossible to say what the writer thinks about this. 38th statement. Moffat's research may help explain people's reaction to EMI. Let's go back and check it. A study by computer scientist David Moffat of Glasgow Caledonian University provides a clue. So, does that mean that it may explain people's reaction to EMI? It may help. Yes. So, Moffat's research may help explain people's reaction. That is your answer for 38. Yes. 39. The non-experts in Moffat's study all responded in a predictable way. Let's see. The participants weren't told beforehand whether the tunes were composed by humans or computers, but were asked to guess and then rate how much they liked each one. People who thought the composer was a computer tended to dislike the piece more than those who believed it was human. This was true even among the experts who might have been expected to be more objective in their analysis. Okay. Non-experts in Moffat's study all responded in a predictable way. It is not given. It is not mentioned there how they were supposed to respond. However, it is mentioned how experts were expected to respond. But non-experts, nothing is given. Therefore, your answer is not given. And the last one, question number 40. Justin Kruger's findings cast doubt on Paul Bloom's theory about people's prejudice towards computer art. Justin Kruger's findings. Let's see that. Where does this prejudice come from? Paul Bloom of Yale University has a suggestion. He reckons part of the pleasure we get from art stems from the creative process behind the work. This can give it an irresistible essence, says Bloom. Meanwhile, experiments by Justin Kruger of New York University have shown that people's enjoyment of an artwork increases if they think more time and effort was needed to create it. So essentially, these two people are saying the same thing, that when we listen to something, or when we how we receive pleasure from art is by thinking about the creative process behind the work, or when we think that a lot of effort and time has been put behind it, then we enjoy it. So both these people are saying the same thing. Therefore, this answer is no. Justin Kruger's findings cast doubt on Paul Bloom's theory? No. He's not contradicting it. He's saying the same thing. So it does not cast doubt on Paul Bloom's theory. Therefore, the answer is no. So we have come to the end of our reading comprehension live session, and I hope you have understood all this. It's actually easy when you focus on it. For reading, two things are quite important. One is managing time, and the other one is concentrating on what you are doing. If you think about other things, if you have something else in your mind while doing the reading, or if you are tensed about it, then you are going to miss out on answers. What we have to do is compare the questions, compare the words in the questions, and compare the words in the passage, and this way you will be able to find the meanings, find the synonyms, and you will be able to arrive at the correct answer. So I hope that you all do it well. Practice enough so that you are able to get a good score. That's it. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.